In this video, we're going to work through some exam problems on matrices. So as always, pause the video and do try these ones first. Okay, just a small first question here. Matrices A and B are given by this. So here's A and here's B. Give full details of the geometrical transformation in the XY plane represented by A. Well, maybe you just know the answer. And if you do, that's great. And if you do, just write it down for your mark. If you don't, how do you approach this? Well, typically what I would do is I would think, what does it do to a point XY? There's really two approaches here. You either kind of think about every point on the unit square, or you just sort of think about a generic point XY. For a simple one like this, I would just go for applying this to the point XY and seeing what happens. When I do that, I get 0 times x plus y and 1 times x plus 0 times y. So what that's done is that is flipped the x and the y values, meaning we've taken any point over here with coordinates x, y, flipped the x and y values, and now it's over here. So what is that? That is a reflection in the line y equals x. Okay, on to B. Now with B, frankly, it just is very useful to be able to recognize approximately what that is. Spoiler, it's a rotation. Now, why is that? Well, your answers you get will not be very clear if you just multiply point xy by this, or even if you apply this to a unit square. You're just going to get a bunch of surds and fractions as your answer. It won't be clear particularly what's going on. You really do just need to recognize that these are a bunch of exact trig values, and they conform to our generic rotation of cos theta minus sine theta, cos theta. And so what we can see is that cos theta needs to be a half and sine theta needs to be a half root 3. So solving those, cos theta equals a half gives me theta values, I guess, yeah, we'll go in degrees here, of 60 and 300. And then solving sine theta equals root 3 over 2, I get theta values of 60 and 180 minus that, which is 120. So 60 is the common solution to both. So it's an anti-clockwise rotation of 60 degrees about the origin. Of course, all rotations with matrices are about the origin, but include that in your answer as well. Okay, on to some longer questions. Again, pause the video and have a go at this one. Big one, right? So 14 marks. Okay, the matrix M represents the sequence of two transformations in the xy plane given by a rotation of 60 degrees anti-clockwise about the origin, which you just saw in the last question, but pretend you hadn't, followed by a one-way stretch in the x direction with scale factor of d, and d is not 0. Find M in terms of d. Okay, so we need to make sure we get the order correct here. So M represents two transformations. It's the rotation first, and then it's the stretch. If we call the rotation R and the stretch S, it's SR. Remember, it's the one on the right which acts first. So we're going to have to work out what the R, the rotation matrix, is, and then what S, the stretch scale factor in the X direction, is. So the rotation, yes, we did just do this in the previous question, but imagine you hadn't. R needs to be, what's a rotation? So it's cos, and it's 60 degrees anti-clockwise, so cos 60, sine 60, minus sine 60, and cos 60. And evaluating all of these, it's a half root 3 over 2, minus root 3 over 2, and a half. So there's R. Now S is a stretch of scale factor D in the X direction. Okay, so just in the X direction, we've put D here and 0 here. That means that the new X value is simply D times the old X value, but we want to leave the Y values alone. So it's 0, 1. So there's S. So now our job is to find SR. So we can just multiply those out. And when we do that, we get a half D plus 0. So half D. Then we get minus root 3 over 2 times d, so minus d root 3 over 2, then it's 0 times half plus root 3 over 2, and 0 times that plus a half, and so here's our matrix M. And we're done with part A. Okay, part B. The unit square in the xy plane is transformed by M onto a parallelogram of area half d squared units. Show that d is 2. Okay, well, the key fact here is that the determinant of a 2 by 2 matrix is the area scale factor. So the determinant tells you what the area of the unit square will be transformed to. So we just need to find the determinant of our matrix M. So the determinant of our matrix M, recall M was this. And so the determinant of that is half d times a half. So a quarter d minus this times this. So that is minus minus, so plus. And what have we got? We've got d times root 3 over 2 times root 3 over 2, which is 3/4. So plus 3/4 d. And that is just d. So we found that the area of the unit square is now d, but it's also half d squared. So we're just solving half d squared equals d. Okay, we're getting two solutions here. If I get everything over onto this side, factorize out half d, we get d minus 2. So the options are d equals 0 or d equals 2, but we're told that d is not 0. Therefore, d is 2. Now, resist the urge to just cancel through d's here. I know you'll get the same answer, but you really want to show both answers and then reject the one that doesn't work. That's the correct way of doing these. Okay, on to part C. The matrix N is such that Mn is that. Okay, we need to find N. So to do that, we're going to have to find the inverse of M and then left multiply both sides by that, because this implies that N is M inverse times 1, 1, a half, a half. So I just need to figure out what M inverse is. Well, let's just write down what M is now that we know that D is 2. So subbing D equals 2 into this, we get this. So I need the inverse. Now for the inverse, it's going to be 1 divided by the determinant. Now we know the determinant is 2 because that was in the last question, right? We discovered that the determinant was in fact just D, which is 2. So it's 1 divided by the determinant. We swap these round, half and 1. We make both of these negative, so root 3 and minus root 3 over 2. And there is M inverse. So now we can just evaluate M inverse times this. I might just bring that half inside. You know what, actually, I'm going to pull a half out of here instead. It'll be a bit easier. So a quarter, I'm pulling a half out of this. So I'm left with 1, 2 root 3, minus root 3 and 2. Now I've just got integers everywhere, or surds. And I'm multiplying this by 1, 1, a half, a half. And let's see what we get. So we've got that quarter out the front. And that's 1 times 1 plus a half of 2 root 3. So that's 1 plus root 3. Then I've got 1, well, same thing again, right? In fact, it's going to be the same both times. So 1 plus root 3 again. Then it's minus root 3 plus 1. So 1 minus root 3. And the same again, 1 minus root 3. And so that is N. Let's just make it really clear. N equals that. And we're done with part C. Okay, find the equations of the invariant lines through the origin of the transformation in the xy plane represented by Mn. Okay, so this is good because even if you mess up everything else, you can still just do this question. So an invariant line through the origin will be one of the form y equals mx. So we're basically just trying to find the m, or the possible values of m. So an invariant line will be one such that when you apply this matrix to an arbitrary point x, mx on the line, it still is on the line, which means the x value we get here and the y value we have here should still work in this equation. So what do we get? Well, the new x value is 1 times x plus 1 times mx. So that's x plus mx. And the new y value is half x plus half mx. So this new coordinate here should conform, i.e. the y value, half x plus half mx, should equal m times the old x value. And all we need to do now is compare coefficients. Now, it's just x's on both sides. So if we didn't have that stipulation that went through the origin, we'd have to be comparing coefficients of x with coefficients of constants. But here it is only coefficients of x's. So on the left, we've got a half plus a half m. And on the right, we've got m plus m squared. And so here's a quadratic for us to solve. So we've got m squared, let's see, plus half m minus a half, and there's our quadratic to solve. Now, solving that any way you like, you get m equals minus 1 and a half, which means that the two lines, and therefore the two invariant lines, are y equals minus x and y equals half x. And these are the equations of our two invariant lines through the origin. Okay, we're done with that question now, so let's have a go at another. Okay, pause the video and try this one for yourself. So the matrices A, B, and C are given by those. Find C, A, B. Okay, so we're just going to multiply them all up. We can do this in any order. In the sense, I can do CA first and then times by B, or I can do AB first and then left multiplied by C. That doesn't matter. So let's do AB first. Okay, here we get 2 plus 0 plus k. So 2 plus k. Then it's 0 plus k plus 0. So k. Then it's 5 plus 0 plus 3, which is 8. And then it's 0 minus 1 plus 0. And on the last line, it's 1 plus 0 plus 1. And 0 plus 0 plus 0. So there is C, that's AB. So now I just need to left multiply that by C. So I'm multiplying C, which is 0, 1, 1, minus 1, 2, 0, by 2 plus k, k, 8, minus 1, 2, 0. Multiplying this out, what do we get? 0 plus 8 plus 2. 8 plus 2 is 10. Then 0 minus 1 plus 0, so minus 1. Then minus all of this stuff, so minus 2 minus k, plus 16 plus 0. So that's going to give me 14 minus k. And lastly, minus k minus 2 plus 0. So minus k minus 2. And there we go. There is CAB. Okay, on with question 2. So given that A is singular, find the value of k. All right, so if this is singular, it means its determinant is 0. So I just need to find the determinant of A. So the determinant of A, working across the top, is 2 times the determinant of this submatrix, which is minus 1, minus 0, so minus 1. Then it's minus k times, and then our submatrix here is 5 minus 3. 5 minus 3 is 2. And then it's plus k times the determinant of this submatrix, which is 0 minus minus 1, so plus 1. And all of that needs to equal 0. Multiplying this out, I get minus 2 minus 2k plus k equals 0. That's minus k. Get it over onto this side, and we have k is minus 2. So there's our answer to part B. And then part C, using the value of k from part B, find the equation of the invariant lines through the origin of the transformation of the xy plane represented by CAB. Okay, so we need CAB, but now with k is minus 2. So what was CAB? So we're just taking this answer and subbing in minus 2. So we're going to get 10 minus 1, 16, and 0. And now what are we doing with this? Well, we're finding what happens when we apply that point to a generic point on the line y equals mx. So x, mx, let's see the coordinate we get. It's 10x minus mx, and it's 16x plus 0, so just 16x here. Now the key point to this is that this should conform to the equation y equals mx. So the y value, 16x, should equal m times the x value, 10 minus mx. Okay, so multiplying this out, we get 16x equals 10m minus m squared x. Now, this is a little bit unusual because in this case we do have the constants and the x values. So we need to compare the coefficients to both of those. So when we multiply this out, we get 10x minus mx, and then we get 16x here, and then just 0. And this new coordinate should also be on the line y equals mx, meaning the y value, 16x, should equal m times the x value. And our job now is to just figure out what m needs to be. So if we'd had a plus c, we would need to compare the coefficients for x's and constants, but as it is, we just compare the coefficient of x because it's got x throughout. So 16 equals 10m minus m squared, and here's our quadratic to solve. So m squared minus 10m plus 16 equals 0. This one factorizes, but solve it however you like. M minus 8 and m minus 2. And so our two solutions are m equals 2 and 8. Both of those are totally fine. And these are our two invariant lines. Y equals 2x and y equals 8x. And we're done with that question and with this video. So see you in the next one.